in their hit 1990 song All-Star. The band Smash Mouth reminds us of a key fact of life that we can take with us everywhere we go. The hits start coming and they don't stop coming. At first, this seems like a little bit of an over-dramatization, but this is actually a fact that remains in every facet of life. And the ideal of being knocked down but having to continue to get back up again, because the hits will keep on coming, is what we see in today's pivotal quote. In every battle there comes a time when both sides consider themselves beaten. Then he who continues the attack wins, by Ulysses S. Grant. We interpret this quote to mean is that when times are most difficult, as they will be with every struggle and situation in life, the ones who arise are the ones who persevere and are consistent. And we fundamentally agree with today's quote for two key reasons. First, in every battle there will be highs and lows regardless. There is no continued plateau. And secondly, and more importantly, the importance of perseverance as it relates to every topic and every area. First, how are we sure that there will be winners and losers and hills and valleys, as opposed to just continued flatlands? Well, we see two examples of the battles that life presents to us and how they explain the constant ups and downs. First, with the Hank Williams Jr. song, Mr. Weatherman, and second, from the actual Civil War example that is being given before us. First, the Hank Jr. song, Mr. Weatherman. Now, as someone who grew up in the South, it was a staple to listen to Hank Jr., seeing as he was the protogener heir to the classic country music genre. But in his song, Mr. Weatherman, he is requesting for some change, because he, along with everyone else he knows, has seen too many highs and too many lows, and a lack of consistency that can be predicted as easily as the weather. Now, as individuals gathered in a place that has recently seen a tornado warning, I'm sure we can all agree that the weather is unpredictable. But one thing remains the same. There will be sunny, beautiful days, and there will be days of low, deep valleys. That is what the quotation is trying to lead us to. In every battle, there will come a time when both sides feel defeated, when the valleys occur. But let's talk about the example more specifically to the Civil War, since this is a Ulysses S. Grant quote. If you're not familiar, Ulysses S. Grant was actually not the original intended general for the Union soldiers. In fact, it was the much more experienced, battle-hardened person, Robert E. Lee, who instead decided to side with his home state, even though he was the better general on paper. What we see is that Ulysses S. Grant knew that he may not have been the first pick for the job, and he was going to have to battle his way up, because on paper, he was the lesser general. But thankfully, history proved once and for all that his willingness to persevere, even though there were lows in the Civil War battle, shows that he came out on top in the end. And thank God he did. So what does the story and the importance of perseverance from the second half of the quote mean to us in our everyday lives? Well, the two best examples of showing perseverance in this time when we're knocked down come from Finding Nemo, and Arnold Palmer's idea of strength training. First, Finding Nemo. I loved the movie Finding Nemo growing up. And if you were a child at the time, you probably annoyed your parents too with the line of, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. But it is one that we need to be reminded of again today, because the second half of the quote talks about, then he who continues the attack wins, much like Dory is trying to encourage Marlin to continue the battle to find his son and to persevere, showing that in the end he will win and find his son. That is some advice we need to take. And second, through Arnold Schwarzenegger's idea of strength training. For those of you unaware of who Arnold is, he is an individual who won Mr. Olympia multiple times. And his strength training relied on the fact that individuals who exercise past their point of no forgiveness and individuals who train until literal failure are the ones who will get the biggest, strongest, and defeat the weight, who is fundamentally their enemy. Again, a story of perseverance that we can take to us in our everyday lives. So when we come back to today's pivotal quote, in every battle there comes a time when both sides consider themselves beaten. Then, he who continues the attack wins, by Ulysses S. Grant. We see the summary of the quotation that when times are difficult and situations that are hard to understand, which happens quite frequently, we have to persevere. And we agree with this for two key reasons. First, in every battle there are highs and lows, no plateaus. And we saw this through Mr. Weatherman and Hank Williams Jr., and through the actual example of the Civil War. And secondly, the importance of perseverance. So y'all just remember to keep swimming and to train until failure, because it is better for us to persevere and win than lose at the end of the day. So the next time you listen to the Smash Mouth song All-Star, just remember the hits are going to keep coming, and they won't stop coming. So we have to continue to persevere and be strong, because it's what Shrek would want anyway.